Creative Magic Club. What's up? This is Sarah Mack and welcome to Creative Magic Club. Together, we'll discover inspirational stories of creative entrepreneurs living out their dreams, doing the work they are most passionate about, and building wealth in magical and fun ways. While building a six-figure income as a writer and coach, helping other women to launch their dream businesses, I've connected with so many incredible people and seen it proven again and again that you can thrive financially doing whatever it is you are passionate about. I am here to share life-changing strategies for mindset, making money, and reaching more people with your work in a business and life filled with creativity, freedom, and fun. Hi everyone, welcome. I'm so excited to introduce my guest today. We have Melissa Fino, who is an award-winning business coach. She's the host of the Income and Impact podcast, and she's a best-selling author of Little Miss Perfect. She supports female entrepreneurs in unleashing their earning potential and creating a wealthy on every level life. She's a high school dropout who went on to receive her master's in social work from the University of Southern California and has continued to defy the odds in all areas of life. She's currently on a mission to help over 1 million women push past their fears and build businesses that massively impact the world. Melissa, welcome. So great that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm really excited to share Melissa and her story with everybody today. But why don't you just give us an introduction first? Like, what is your story? How did you end up becoming a coach and doing the work that you do today?
Yes. So that's a very long story. So I'm going to do the short abridged version of that. Like we said, I'm a high school dropout who ended up going to USC. It was during my last semester at the university where I took a coaching and consultation course, and I had my eyes on becoming a therapist and helping the world in that way. And then that kind of opened up my eyes to a completely different way that I could support more women in changing their lives, but also like helping them right now and shift into what they wanted to become, which has just been so beautiful. So I started my business in 2015 and a lot has changed since then, but I am a completely different woman than the woman I was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about it. So one particular part of your story that I'm really interested in is your journey into becoming a best-selling author and publishing your book, because I know it wasn't just a straightforward process for you. And, there was a lot of kind of like life that integrated with your writing process. So I would love to hear you share some of the parallels between what it took for you to, really own your message, have the clarity and I guess, the confidence to actually put the words on the page and get your story out there. How did that intersect with your journey building your business as a coach? And, what were the main shifts that had to happen in order for both of those two parts of your work to succeed?
Such a huge question, right? Hold on a second. Taking a step back. So when I actually got my master's in social work and I came out of that, I used to say that that was the most expensive form of therapy that I could ever have purchased myself because it truly was, because we had to integrate ourselves into different pieces of society and peel back all of our layers. And at that moment it was. So when I finished graduate school, that's immediately when I opened my business. And that's when I first attempted writing my book. And my book is called Little Miss Perfect. And the idea behind it was it's like a narrative memoir. And I shared more of my story. But when I first started writing the book, I hadn't even come to terms with all of my story. Like I hadn't healed it all. I thought I had, but there was just so much more underneath that. So what ended up happening is I had a book that was about the size of the Bible, and it had all of the publishing agencies, in the world that I could reach out to. And I had wrote my proposal and sent it out to so many queries. And I had a couple of publishing agencies that had said they wanted to work with me. And this was in 2016. And what they all did was they came back to me and they said, increase your social media following, do these different things, market yourself, and then we'll pick up the book, right? So for me, that was extremely intimidating. And it was also right when I started to begin my business. So for me, it kind of like set me off in a wrong direction, because in terms of my business, I didn't need to go off and increase my social media following. I needed to connect with women who were truly on the same path as me, the same values, right? Whereas the publishing agency just wanted numbers. So it took a while for that. And I actually just ended up shelving the book, which was really good that I shelved it at that point, because I hadn't worked through some of my own personal traumas. I had shared with you, and I'll share a little bit of what's in the book. I am an attempted murder survivor and a domestic violence survivor and a suicide survivor. And I ended up sharing so much more of myself and all of my truths within this book that I hadn't shared with my own family and my own best friends, and in that way. And it had taken a 5-year time period for me to work through all of that and become comfortable sharing those pieces of myself. And all of those pieces of myself came out through building my business, through working with different coaches, through putting myself out there in uncomfortable situations that made me challenge myself in a way, right? And as you challenge yourself, you begin to see how strong you are, how committed you are, and all of those pieces come out, and it inspires you to really tap into the other pieces of you that have been secretive or suppressed. So much of me changed. And so it ended up being like the universe had really given me a sign as to why the book wasn't published in 2016. When COVID happened, I had a part-time job at that point, and I wasn't doing that one anymore. And I was just full on in my business. And I decided at that moment that I was going to pick up my book. And I rewrote like 75% of it. Like what was first there was like blog posts and almost like vanilla pieces of what it really became to be. So then I republished it, shared so much of myself for the first time ever, gave the book to my family, to my friends, and they read the book. And that was the first time that they ever really heard my truths in reading that book. And at that point it became a bestseller. And for me now it's so important because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and some of the proceeds from my book go to a local charity here in San Diego. And it just means so much to me that this is like a part of me sharing my story and how it creates a greater impact.
Yeah, amazing. It's celebrating you for sharing your story, particularly due to all of the challenges that you've been through. And there's so many parallels with my own life in your journey. Like I'm writing my book at the moment. And so I'm really seeing how just the writing process is like, it's a process, but it's so much more about just writing and sharing your story, just like the clarity that comes through for yourself. And, it's really a place to like digest your story as you're sharing it with others. So, I can see how there's so many unknowns to that process in terms of like the emotional transformation that happens just in going through that. And that must have been such an amazing feeling to give your story, to be in the place where you could share your story with the people who are closest to you and just know that, you can be seen for the truth of who you are. And I have no doubt that that completely shifted and, had massive ripple effects in your business. Because I feel like businesses do the same thing, right? It's like when you are a personal brand and you're working so like intimately with clients, like they need to see who you are, they need to connect to you, you need to share your story. And it invites all of those challenges to really get clear on what you stand for and your values. And that's like one of the most fun and the most challenging parts of being a business. So I would love to hear, like, what would you say were some of the key pieces of personal transformation that happened for you that were necessary for you to get to the business success that you enjoy today?
Yeah, I always say that So the catalyst for change within me, so from becoming a high school dropout and to going to USC and creating my business, the biggest catalyst for change for me was when my father passed away. He passed away when I was 30 years old. And at this point, was just extremely complacent. I had worked a restaurant job where I was a manager. It was nothing to do with the restaurant job or managing or whatever that was. It just, for me, there was something greater beyond that. And I knew it, but I didn't have the courage to tap into that. And my father was the person who could see that there was something more. He was the, daddy's little girl. Everybody has this emotion where daddy puts you on a shelf, right? He just takes cares of you so much. And he truly did that for me. And when he passed away, I realized that I was going to have to take over that role. It was going to be my position now to truly wholeheartedly believe in myself and to take action on it. So I always say that his last breath in life was my first breath in life. It was what gave me the courage to dive deeper and to do those things. So I eventually went back to community college, graduated, got straight A's there, got into my bachelor's program back in Connecticut, and then graduated Phi Alpha. And then it was like every single tiny little step landed me in a different direction. And truthfully, all I ever wanted to do when I went back to school was to get into the University of Connecticut. Like all I wanted to do was to get into the University of Connecticut because there was a gentleman there that I had a crush on. And I was told, I was told that I was a shoo-in for their graduate school program, which was like a 1-year program. And I got denied. And then like a couple of days later, I was like, well, I applied to USC on like the last minute deadline and I got accepted. And it was because there was something bigger waiting for me, right? Like get the heck out of Connecticut. It's time to go beyond that. And, it was another sign from the universe again, that there was something bigger in store for me. So that all kind of changed. And that essentially the woman that I am today is, like I said before, nothing like the woman that I was yesterday. And that's why I think it's such a big, important factor that we all share our stories, because the woman that I was had no idea that this was available for me, right? And it's only when we start to achieve the dream that the next bigger dream becomes available, and then we start to see that we can actually have it. So I love that action. And so I know that when we originally spoke, we talked a lot about businesses and growing your own coaching business. And for me, I think it's very important for anybody who's stepping into the industry to know that creating your own coaching business and developing it and designing it and branding it and selling yourself and getting clients and all of that stuff is nothing like clocking in on a 9-to-5 job and being a coach somewhere else. It's some of the largest, biggest, most like personal development work that you will ever do. But all of those challenges are really bringing you to where you are meant to be. Because if you can't learn how to sell yourself, it's like that little task is bringing you to the next one, right? It's all leading you to the right place so that we can develop 6- and 7-figure businesses.
Yeah, totally. And it's just always the same message. Like, no matter who I'm interviewing, no matter who I'm talking to, like the level of success, it's like, it's never, oh, you have to have the right strategy or like you have to have the right mentor. It's always just self-belief and like really getting to that place where like you have your own back, which is what confidence is at the end of the day, really just deciding that your ideas are good enough and that you believe that you can make them work and that you having the idea is enough evidence to really go for it and see it through. Because really until that's there, until that like decision is really there, then you can just sort of get stuck in the like having one toe in the water and nothing's really happening and it's not fun and you're not seeing any of the results. So like if you like, what is the message on your heart for any women out there who are, in their business, maybe have like some wavering self-belief going on, or like the results just aren't coming in yet and they're starting to go into that dialogue of like comparison, looking at other people, thinking there must be something wrong with them, what are they not doing right? Like, what do you wish more women in business knew?
Well, there's a lot of different things that I think on that. The biggest thing would be, so there's always energy that's happening, right? Like you can't see the results when they're happening, but that doesn't mean that they're not happening. Like they're always happening. And it's always the little tiny like things that are happening and moving it in that direction. But when you can't see that, if you can align and truly connect with your intention, which is why you truthfully started your business in the first place, because for everyone, they started their business to create more money. But beyond that, there's a purpose, there's a vision, there's something that's greater, that you didn't think that starting your business was going to be the easiest thing in the whole entire world. You started your business because you've been through something, you've seen how much it impacted someone else. So if you can align with that intention and take money off the table, take all of the results off the table, and just show up aligned fully with that intention all of the time, impact driven, everything else is going to be a byproduct. I mean, a byproduct is kind of like a bad word sometimes, but it is so truthful. If you can take the idea that results aren't happening, the income isn't coming fast enough, these kinds of things, and just only show up aligned with your purpose, with like blinders on of everything else, then everything is going to unfold at a faster, accelerated rate.
I love that message. And I think one of like the nuances of that conversation, particularly for women, particularly for coaches, particularly for healers and creatives, is getting caught up on the money part of the conversation, and like, feeling guilty for like charging higher rates than maybe you've ever charged before. Like, yeah, if you're stepping out of maybe working for an employer to working for yourself, and you're just thrown into the whole like pricing paradigm, and you have unlimited choice. And people like feeling guilty or wanting to be accessible, right? Especially people who come from a therapy background where there's a lot of stories and narratives going on around like being accessible, like knowing how much people need this work and benefit from this work, knowing how much you want to be accessible to as many people as possible. And that's genuinely a desire for so many women. Can you share a little bit about like your journey with pricing and money, and like did you get hung up on any of those pieces? Like, what did it take for you to move through that to like really succeeding financially?
Oh, I focus primarily on high ticket items, and getting women to that where they're so not like, it's just like an unbreakable confidence, like a beyond unwavering, like, it's just, this is who you are. But for me, I struggled in the beginning with selling my $100 packages. Always joke around, like I could sell my glasses or this big old water bottle, and I could probably sell it for $100,000 if I needed to. But if you sold anything that was an extension of me, oh God, it was so difficult. And then I started to realize that everything isn't about me. Believe it or not, it's not. It's really not. It's about the transformation that we get to provide for our clients, and how much their life stays the same if they don't get access to the transformation. And then as you're in this business for longer, your knowledge like increases exponentially. You learn so much. So not only is your confidence increasing, but your knowledge is increasing. And if you can provide a transformation for someone that changes their life, and you can truly provide that, then you should be charging a price that's compensated for that, right? I mean, as long as you can communicate what the value is of your message, then you're going to be able to sell it.
Do you remember a time where you kind of like your income jumped, or you received that first payment that was like way bigger than you'd ever received before? Like, what comes to mind? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember at one point in time, I was charging 12K for my one-on-ones and 6K for a group program that I was running. And there was one weekend where I was just kind of like totally chill. I live in San Diego, so I'm a block away from the beach. And it was just like a kind of like relaxing, like yoga walk around weekend. And I did have I had made 30K that weekend off of my one-on-ones and adding a new group member to an evergreen program, which I no longer have that program at the moment. But that was my biggest weekend that I've ever had. And my biggest kind of like, shit, man, I'm doing it. Like, this is it. Like, I am doing it. Right. Right. Like, we don't need confirmation from other people. But having that come in that moment, that kind of like external gratification, it always feels good every once in a while.
Yes, we love these stories of women getting paid more money than they've ever received. And not only that, but for doing work that you absolutely love and adore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, What are you working on at the moment? Like, what's going on in your world? Where can people find out more about what you're up to?
Yeah, so you can find me over on Instagram at I am Melissa Fino, or my website is Melissa Fino, or Love Your Life Community, which was my old brand, and as well as Facebook, whatever. Sorry, like, but so personally, right now, I have a new group program that's coming out next, kind of like late winter, spring. I have just run this program, which was called 70 Days to 102K, and I was kind of I called it 102K because I am just such a sassy pants. And I got so sick and tired of seeing the 100K messages, but for a bigger reason, because I think that when somebody sees, I want to have a 100K year and then 100K quarter, 100K month, they're limiting themselves. I want you to have more than 100K month or year, or like whatever the heck it is that you desire, I want you to have. But please know that when we see those messages, we're putting something into our subconscious, right? So also within this challenge, I did something where I have created this new process that really, I say to people, it allows you to step into your next level of expansion, because it truly peels off multiple layers and layers and layers. So if you think you have clarity right now, if you think you've tapped into your zone of genius, this is like 9 shades of your zone of genius. So it really is, it's so important right now because the coaching business is saturated in a way, which I think is good, because that means that women and men are having more transformations, that more lives are impacted. But I also think that it means that more coaches are floundering in a way because they don't know how they stand out from other coaches. And this process helps you pull that out. So this is kind of something I've taken those methodologies and added it into a 1-year program where it's called Evolution. And you have that, and we scale your business and we create an endless stream of wealth, money mindset. And the end result is a wealthy on every level life.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all about your story and your wisdom. And thank you everybody for watching and listening. If you know anyone who would benefit from this content, please share, please like, please give us a comment of whatever came up for you around this, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye. Hi loves, I wanted to let you know that I made a special free gift just for you. It's called the Cash Injection Ritual, and it's my 3-step method that you can use to create extra cash sales starting today. I used to suck at making consistent money, and I believed I would never be good at sales because I refused to do anything that feels out of integrity. Then I discovered the powerful mindset shifts I'm about to share with you, and I implemented this cash injection ritual to double my income 3 years in a row, making it to 6 figures in my dream coaching business. Now I'm so effing excited to share this work with you so you can start receiving the money you so deserve. So click the link in the description or go to withsarahmac.com and you can download the cash injection ritual from the freebies menu at the top of my page. Please remember to share your celebrations with me when the extra sales and cash starts to roll in. For more inspirational content, head over to my website withsarahmac.com and please support the show by liking, commenting, and subscribing.